Good morning and welcome to Cheche, the show where opinion counts, live on Citizen TV. I'm your host, Udrak Amimo. Now, who will be the opposition CORD presidential flag bearer? It's a question that's gotten louder after one of the CORD principals, Senator Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya, launched his presidential bid. Ford Kenya apparently was not party to an understanding between Raila Odinga's ODM party and Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper party that outlined Mr. Kalonzo's support for Mr. Odinga's third presidential attempt in the last general election, in return for Mr. Odinga's backing of Mr. Musyoka's presidential ambitions next year. So, the politics of CORD unpacked here on Cheche with the lieutenants of the CORD principals. Speaking for ODM, we have Secretary General Ababu Namwamba. He's the MP for Budalangi. Speaking for the Wiper Party, Secretary General Hassan Omar, the Mombasa Senator. And speaking for Moses Wetangula, because we're not quite clear which party he belongs to yet, is the Kakamega Senator, as always, we have a panel, Mr. Charles and David Makali. Good morning and welcome to the show. Ababu, I'll start with you while Bonnie catches his breath. Who will be the CORD presidential candidate?
I believe that is a bridge we're going to cross when we get to, because I have no doubt that the coalition has got internal mechanisms that can answer that question. I also believe that question is a bit premature, but it's also good that it's causing a lot of public interest, because then it demonstrates that CORD remains a very popular coalition, and the CORD ticket is a very popular ticket. Otherwise, it wouldn't be raising so much interest and public debate. So, personally, I don't think I'm overly concerned about that question. It will definitely be answered at the right time. Okay, Hassan.
Ababu talks about internal processes, yet we hear that an MOU exists between ODM and Wiper. So why do we need these internal processes if this MOU exists?
First and foremost, I want to share what my brother Secretary General has said. I remember when we made the declaration for Kalonzo Musyoka as Wiper Party that he is our flag bearer in January of this year. It was attended by both Senator Moses Wetangula and Honorable Raila Odinga. And Honorable Raila Odinga said it was important for a strong CORD to have a strong Wiper, to have a strong Ford Kenya, and to have a strong ODM. So all these parties must work in the internal mechanics to ensure, first and foremost, they strengthen their own parties and their bases. But secondly, I do hear about this MOU, and it's not something I hear of. As the Secretary General of Wiper, I'm privy that there does exist an MOU that envisaged in the event of a Raila victory, he was going to be a one-term president. One thing is, there are those in the Wiper Party who argue that must be not only interpreted in letter, but also in spirit. The whole idea is to ensure that all these three principles get a go at the presidency. And that's why every one of them was supposed to serve a one-term presidency. I can assure you today that even Kalonzo Musyoka, even that continues to be the Wiper position, will be a one-term president in the event that is flag bearer. Because of a country that is quite explosive in terms of its ethnic mechanics, it is important to have a rotational kind of formula so that everybody gets a goal. So that if these three principles were to say that they are going to consume a collective 30 years and lock out everybody else like what is happening in the Jubilee coalition, then that situation will be untenable.
Okay, so you're giving us the internal process line pretty much. You're not giving us a clear answer on who the presidential candidate is.
Absolutely, because we believe that the coalition is strong in terms of determination of that.
Okay. Senator Hawali, come to you, because you previously were very vocal in your support for a Raila presidency. You switched allegiances to Moses Wetangula. Why?
Maybe the best way to respond to your question is to attempt to respond to the same question that you put to my younger brother Babu, who is the flag bearer of CORD. It's important that we be honest and we be candid. We don't fear telling Kenyans the truth. The CORD flag bearer is known. It will be either Kalonzo, Wetangula, or Raila. And in my judgment, personal, I believe Raila is a front runner. However, because politics is dynamic, Raila should be conscious of the fact that he he runs the risk of losing the front runner status to this extent, that the people who are living in the mindset of front runner are doing so in view of history, that there existed an MOU and so on. If CORD wants to move forward, then they should improve on their performance in the last general election. They should discard that MOU and graft a new MOU, and Raila makes sure that he secures the flag bearer in terms of the new MOU. Because I am supporting CORD very candidly, not by invitation, but because the people who vote in my county drove me into CORD. I cannot go there and then be seen to be driving somebody's agenda. I am not driving Wetangula's agenda, neither can I drive anybody's agenda. However, I will drive the agenda of the people. The agenda of the people is a flag bearer who can beat Uhuru, period.
So why are you here then? Because you tell us that you know, you're driving the agenda of people and not Wetangula's agenda.
That's
but
right.
You've been calling yourself Wetangula's right-hand man.
Yes, I am.
You're contradicting yourself.
No, it's not a contradiction. It's just that I have not spoken long enough. Towards the end, towards the end of the program, it will become very clear that if one is in CORD, then one must understand what CORD is. CORD is a coalition of parties. So for a long time, for the 3 years I've been in CORD, I had been there just in the coalition. But to be neat and working within CORD, you have to operate from the precincts of a particular party. And I have now chosen that in that party, it will be Fort Kenya. And now that I'm in Fort Kenya, I have to be very clear that I identify Moses Wetangula as the party leader of Fort Kenya, and on 2nd last month, or this month, in Muliro Gardens, the party unveiled him as a presidential candidate. So I am going to do everything possible to ensure that he defeats Musyoka and he defeats Raila, and I'm sure they'll also be happy that they will have gotten young blood, fresh blood, that will breathe new air into the competition of the presidential ticket.
When you said Raila is front runner?
Yes.
You said that is history.
Front runner, I think we all understand.
Front runner, then he's front runner. When does Wetangula come in?
When you are a front runner, it doesn't mean you are the winner.
Yeah.
It means off the blocks, you are presumed to be the fastest. But it doesn't mean that on the finish line, you'll still be number one.
Okay, let's be very clear about your status. You have formally joined Fort Kenya.
Yes, I have, to this extent that my party UDF has dissolved into Jubilee, and the law allows me either to be independent or join another party. So I've consciously found that I cannot be strong as independent, and I've chosen that I'll operate within Fort Kenya, which is the party that resonates very well in Kakamega.
Okay, so let me come to the panelists now. We've heard that in terms of presidential flag bearer, whether an MOU exists or not, CORD is going to go the way of internal processes to select a presidential candidate. Is that feasible?
Well, first of all, listening to the three speakers for their parties, you capture the usual diplomatic rhetoric. There's a bit of hypocrisy there, because if you go to out there in the political rallies, you see each of them pumping their candidates for the ticket. So I'm quite surprised that Boni is trying to minimize his punch on the fact that he wants Wetangula to be the candidate. The fact in CORD is that the candidate is known. It's obvious who is the candidate. I mean, there is no doubt about it. Raila is the candidate. In fact, what exists in CORD is a situation where you would say it's like a polygamous man who has got two spouses. He has the first spouse, and then he has a second spouse. Now the second spouse wants more attention because of pressure from the children, who are saying the first spouse is getting too much privilege here and there, so work hard to be number two. And that's all that's going on, because the candidate is known.
And so we see Ford Kenya really struggling hard to sort of upset the hierarchies to be number 2. But even number 2 knows that number 2 belongs to number 2 and number 1 is already taken. But what we're being treated with the politics of appeasing and keeping your constituencies going, because if you don't show ambition, you're likely to lose premium. And I think that is the bottom line.
Interesting, David. Mutegi, what do you think?
But at work.
Just a minute, let me hear from Mutegi first. Just a minute.
The whole battle is because of that launch in Kakamega. Were it not there, this talk will not be there. Because we know very well, as everybody, as Makari is saying, David is saying, we know the candidate of CORD, and that's Raila. Kalonzo Musyoka is silent. We have not seen him anyone going to campaign, even if it is not very vigorous. Wetangula wants to be, as Makari says, to be number 2, because the other candidate is nowhere. So all this talk is about trying to bolster your presence, so that when time comes, you can get some leverage. But we know who the candidate is, and there's no doubt about who the candidate is.
I just wanted to tell the viewers that thank God Makali is not a polygamist. Polygamy is not managed that way.
and David, that is coming from personal experience. Long-standing personal experience.
Okay. So we come back to our guest, the feeling from our panelists who do have their ears to the ground is that even if you tell us that you have an internal selection process, we pretty much know the outcome of that process.
I think that is okay. Go ahead, Senator.
But let me tell you, the MOU is part of the document that is going to be in that negotiation in terms of the internal processes. Wiper Party made its declaration in January, and since we have started to strengthen the party structures, we have opened a couple of offices since. We are about to open the Mombasa office and a couple of other areas that we've identified as potential areas. So trust me, we are not putting all this mechanism and investment in place to perpetually play second fiddle. We take it realistically.
But you have dismissed the MOU. You have said in the event. The MOU was in the event that Raila becomes president. Therefore, the next time Kalonzo will be.
But I also
Raila did not become president.
I went ahead and said that there are those in the Wiper Party who argue that you can translate the spirit of that MOU, that it was supposed to give a go to each of the principles. And I told you for a fact, I told you for a fact that Kalonzo Musyoka himself is going to be a one-term president. You can take that to the bank, because it is in this country that today where ethnic competition or ethnic mobilization is basis for political competition, you need to create a situation where there appears to be some kind of a rotation. That's why the Jubilee formula is fairly untenable.
That point was made. What I'm asking is this: since Raila did not become president of the Republic of Kenya, and the MOU was saying that if Raila becomes president, Raila didn't become president, so the MOU is null and void.
If you had the Wiper brigade that was in Nyenze's mother's funeral, that I think was the top brass of Wiper, including Mudhama himself and Musila and a couple of governors. They have also stated their claim loud and clear that there exists a commitment for support in this coming elections. So as I said, we will look for internal mechanisms, because we want to keep the coalition. We want to keep the coalition intact.
I mean, even looking at it as a lawyer,
yes,
the contract was conditional upon the achievement of the first goal, which was president.
That's what I'm saying.
And so, but these polemics of taking the country around and round and papering over things, why can't CORD just settle on the matter and say, look, it didn't work, we're giving it another try, the arrangement is the same. I mean, we've heard that from Jubilee. We know who the candidate is, who is the running mate.
David,
the others are top.
David, the scenario in Jubilee is absolutely different from our situation. And I don't think the Jubilee analogy actually has CORD. My skin brittles when you use Jubilee as an analogy for us as CORD in whatever scenario. Whether you're talking about settled arrangement or I mean, there's a collision of two groupings where it is a lot easier to play around with the arithmetic of who takes what. But that's beside the point. The point is that even yourselves as panelists, you're being a bit presumptuous. absolutely presumptuous. And when you interpret our sentiments as being overly diplomatic, I think you're also being judgmental. Let me tell you that there is a very clear understanding within this coalition that we are strongest together. We are at our strongest point together. And that is an obvious fact. That is true. Let me tell you, David, as Secretary General of ODM, I am the first line of defense for my party leader. And unapologetically so, because that is my responsibility. I believe that I have a duty, I'm duty bound, to push the hardest possible for my party leader to clinch this ticket. And I will do so. I will go to the ends of the earth to push for Raila Amolo Odinga to be the CORD candidate. But I also very clear in my mind that Raila Odinga's candidacy will only be as strong as the support he will receive from his co-principals. And that's why for me, in the event that any of the other co-principals clinches this ticket, all of us in court must throw our weight behind them. And that means that we have to demonstrate, not just in word, but also in deed, our commitment to competition. I believe, if I sat with Raila Odinga, whether in private or in public, I believe that he's committed to competition. If he's not committed to competition, then there's something very wrong. I believe that... I
wanted to make a statement.
Okay, Hassan, and then so that you can respond globally.
In fact, Dr. Bababu captured the role of a Secretary General extremely eloquently. And that's why you should advise part of your bloggers or your brigade when we push for Kalonzo Musyoka's ticket as Secretary General of CORD of WIPA. They go around malicing. You know, we respect that position that you take. And every day when I sit in my meeting, I tell them, Ababu has no choice. Ababu is the Secretary General of ODM. So forever hold your peace, even if Ababu says one or two things that are unpalatable to you, that do you not like. Ababu is the Secretary General of the Orange Democratic Movement, period. But whereas we accommodate those views, Senator, immediately our candidates, our presidential candidates, want to lay claim on or stake. They start publishing how their malls, how Jubilee is supporting them, how these people, or they start saying how they have been supporting our parties, how they have been paying for Etangula's air tickets. I think there's need for decorum in terms of this political competition, so that you can appreciate the positions that we have anchored ourselves in, Senator, as various parties.
David, Senator and I come a long way.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've been at this game since our student days at the university. He was at Moya, I was at Nairobi, and we played this game all this time. And you know that this whole mall business and all this part of this game. So really for someone to, some coward to sit behind some keyboard and throw some...
Okay, sorry, David?
Yes, but I wanted to make this point, please. Yeah. I perfectly respect the position that Senator Hassan would take as Secretary General of WIPA to push the hardest possible for a Kalonzo Musyoka presidency. I would respect the position taken by my brother Boni as now a bona fide ranking senior member of Fort Kenya to push for the Fort Kenya party leader to seek this ticket. And by the way, I want to tell you, gentlemen, should Wetangula or Kalonzo Musyoka clinch this ticket, I would campaign for either of them 200%, absolutely, in the spirit of CORD. Just the same way I would expect that if Raila Odinga were to secure this ticket, the same guarantee would be forthcoming from the Fort Kenya and WIPA Brigade.
What I'm saying is,
David, that's the reality.
I know, but what I'm saying, this is all diplomatic stuff. It's because I expect you, as the representative of your party leader, or WIPA, you as Wetangula's point man, and him as the Secretary General of ODM, to be saying, I believe Raila Odinga is the candidate or should be the candidate.
We just said that. David, you're not listening.
David, they have said that.
I have just said.
Oh my God.
Get the point.
that it's not just about saying it quietly, which is what we're being treated to and the country is being treated to. It's giving us why you believe your candidate ought to be the ticket carrier.
Now, when you're on TV,
in all this, we know we'll be subject to competition, but I believe that this should be the candidate or the party flag bearer because of so and so and this and that. Not we were subjected to processes, all that. That is trying to manage a problem that you have by not speaking about it.
But David, who told you politics is an easy thing, David? Politics is no simple cup of tea. Politics is about management.
Senator Boni?
I think I want to start from where Babu said. He said that the biggest point of strength in CORD is the unity.
Absolutely.
And therefore I want to appeal to you panelists and the media in general, that when you take the strong position of Makali, you tempt me to think that you're holding somebody's brief, probably the brief for Jubilee, because you know very well that if in the understanding that it is the unity of the three parties that makes CORD strong, if then the candidacy of Raila Odinga is fait accompli, it therefore means that the following will obtain: that Raila will be the candidate, but because he has not become a candidate through a process, it breaks. So you would be pushing Jubilee agenda that wants God to disintegrate. So you wait and listen to what we are saying as practitioners, firm, tested and proven in the country, that we are going to have real competition within CORD. And that competition, the product, whatever it is, we will all stand behind it, be it Raila, Kalonzo or Wetangula, and make that person win the presidency.
We'll come to the nature of the competition in a moment, but why do you construe criticism or a challenge of your position or internal mechanisms as holding beef for Jubilee?
Because that brief is quickly followed by the media itself, because when they are now reporting, they don't quote actual names. They say, according to an observer, according to an MP who requested for anonymity, Wetangula is being pushed by Jubilee. We have to move away from those kind of politics. You cannot belittle Wetangula. Wetangula has...
So if somebody wants you to name your candidate, he's an agent of your opponent.
With the chick in the tank?
Not chicken.
I mean, looking for facts.
But let's also, let's also stop this disease of jubileosis. Everything that happens at Jubilee,
you blame it on somebody.
Giving them too much credit. I don't think if Jubilee cannot manage a country, everything is going berserk. Trust me, they do not have the capacity to interfere with a coalition of such sound and strength of our nature. So that's why everybody must hold its horses, because part of the people who perpetrate these rumors are people who are, as you said, idlers who sit behind their keyboards. And rather than try to look for the unity of the coalition, because you have challenged the position that for instance, one of the party leaders is garnering for. So you build all these theories around how Estelle and everybody else has been to State House. You look at a very innocent Wiper meeting for a road issue and say how Wiper has visited State House. But David, finally to end with you, we are in a TV station. When we're in a TV station, we're explaining the processes for clarity to the viewers. When we're in political platforms, our language is unambiguous. And that's why we are saying
that's why the double face. Then we are treated
our positions are well known. So we are now explaining to you the mechanics. Who does not know the position of Ababu Namwamba? Who does not know the position of Senator Boni Halwale? Who does not know my position? So if you want a reiteration of that position, we can do it.
We would like to see the merit in those positions. That's the point. Because otherwise we just thumping and punching in the air. We want to see the merit in those positions, so that the public is also spared of the circus of claims that have no basis.
But David, place the question so that we can answer.
The question is to be stating the reason why each of you
now we will answer that question.
Sorry, just a minute. We're coming to the question on merit, because we didn't actually.
We will answer.
I wanted to ask you, mention the state visit by Wiper people. I want to explain that.
There is a road from Kitui to connecting Kitui and somewhere, which Senator Musila had even gone on a demonstration, because that road, if it were to be built between Kitui and point B, it will be 145 kilometers of stretch. That road instead, they have to come to Nairobi and then take that road to that place, which means they spend almost a full day, 24 hours, commuting. So what happened about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Senator Musila had a demonstration where they were even tear gassed. On account of that tear gassing, I think they now said they will demonstrate every week until that road is built. So what happened is, I think it was brought to the attention of the Minister for Roads, which is James Mwangi, James Macharia. James Macharia then facilitated an audience with the president where they were to commit to that road. So I think it is part of the processes that people have to engage at the national level when the responsibility is national. When the responsibility is county, then you engage the county governments.
So they were going to see the president for the road to build?
Yeah, it was even articulated in terms of the postings on the social media. Yeah, so for people there to, somebody, I saw that.
Where is the maturity in our politics when every time I shake the president's hand, I have crossed from CORD to Jubilee? You people, you sit in these media rooms and you want to preach reconciliation, you want to preach mature politics where we can interact beyond our political differences. Yet when that happens, it raises issues of loyalty and who has been bought over a cup of tea.
But we have seen those actually resulting in exactly that. People crossing. Yeah. So if they don't cross, that is chance. If they do, it's the exception, according to the culture of our politics now. That is how engagements are being developed. And you know, I mean, in politics, perhaps, you know, there is no platform where deals are cut. So for the media to speculate, it's within its realm of imagination.
We saw that in PDP. You know, if I may support the media a little bit. If I may support the media a little bit on this. The fact that that delegation went to the president is actually evidence of failure of Jubilee to this extent. Under the new constitution, the president should not expect leaders of taxpayers to go to his office, create friendship, drink tea, in order for the road to be done. Exactly.
It is supposed to be automatic on the part of the president. So that meeting should be reminding the president that he's failing, and this is why he's being reminded by the people. The president should have a blueprint on how he's going to work on our roads. Since he assumes that he's going to be president for 10 years, he should say, in these 10 years, I'm doing these roads, I'm starting with this one, so that leaders, wherever they are, they don't have to go and demonstrate. But because he's busy doing PR, it forces leaders now to go there and tell them, hey man, how about our place?
So that's a good point to take a break on. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV and we're discussing the politics of CORD, with the overarching question being who will be the coalition's presidential candidate. Tell us what you think. Our SMS number is 22422 and you can tweet us using the hashtag Cheche.